Can you water your lawn with your garden hose a little bit longer? If you can,
Okay.
great.
Yeah.
I would probably try to do that. As you said, it's gonna still get cold. We're still gonna have some, even if it's a nice day, our nighttime temperatures can still drop down and get pretty cold.
Right.
If you can water with your garden hose a little bit longer, that'd be great. Our normal standard in Colorado is April 15th to October 15th, give or take a few weeks.
Okay.
And so we are definitely on the early side of that, give or take a few weeks. So I would still wait a little bit longer. However, if you can turn your sprinklers on and you can drain them yourself, I also would recommend doing that as well.
Okay.
It is one of those things where your yard needs water. It does not need excessive water. We do not need to be watering like we would in July or June.
Right.
But you do need to be giving it some water. So if you can do that, with your sprinklers, and you don't mind draining it down at night and watching yourself, making sure that you're up to date on the forecast, that's good.
Right.
There's a couple things we're looking for, Matt. This is it. That's what you're trying to protect.
What is
Everybody's
that?
got this
What is
little
that called?
valve.
Is that a atmospheric?
This is a
That's a backflow
backflow
valve,
device.
or
Yeah, backflow device. Yep, it's
okay?
got multiple valves in it, and this is what we're looking for to protect. So if you can turn your sprinklers on and get this drained on a cold night or whatever, that'd be great. The other thing you can do with this, you can just cover it. A lot of people put blankets over them, towels, whatever you can do. They sell bags that go over these that have insulation in them, and you can do that too. But you've got to be able to protect this. This is what breaks, and this is what's very expensive. These run about $200, give or take. They can go upwards of 500 or 600 depending on what you've got. So that's what you want to protect. But if you can use your garden hose, that would be awesome. Get some water down. Two things I recommend with watering with a garden hose. One, set a timer. Don't
Okay.
just turn your garden hose and your sprinkler on and walk away because you'll forget about it. Phone will ring, whatever, and then you've put way too much water down. So then you're wasting water.
Sure.
Set a timer, move your sprinkler around if you can. That would be great. I was also going to mention this too. If you're using a garden hose, this is what you're hooking it up to. This is
Hmm.
outside the house right here. This is
Right.
what you turn on, right? And then this goes into the house, and the valve is actually back here. It's here inside. If this is the wall, it's 10 or 12 inches back inside your wall. But if you leave your garden hose hooked up to this and just turn this off, it's still going to freeze in here because your garden hose isn't going to let the water drain out. So make sure you're unhooking your garden hose. It's really, really important. Every year we have all kinds of damage to houses done because people forget to turn that off. And it's really important, especially if you have something like this outside
Hmm.
your house. Oh man, you've got to turn this off, and you have got to drain this and get the water out of it, because this is the valve and it's outside exposed.
Why does the water, if you leave the hose hooked up, why doesn't the water drain out of the hose?
So sometimes it will. These are usually meant to be at a little bit of an angle when they're installed. So when you shut it off back here, the water will drain out. But
Okay.
if you've got a hose on here and you've got like a sprinkler attached to the end of it, a
Uh,
lot of times those will hold water and they won't
okay.
necessarily let it drain out. And so you're going to
Okay.
get some water that's stuck in here, and that's going to, could potentially cause you problems.
Okay, so you've got to pay attention to it for sure. But like, dude, my lawn is starting to kind of look like this here, where I probably need to mow soon. Like, just because of how our winter has been, my grass didn't really go dormant. I've got, I mean, things in the yard that usually, are a couple weeks ahead of time in terms of leafing out and that sort of thing. So it's the weather pattern, I guess, that you've been observing that also tells you, as the landscape professional, like, hey, you've got to get some water on your lawn and your yard because it's ready.
Right, absolutely. And we see a couple times a year where we get a lot of winter kill. We call it winter kill. And it's really just lack of water. And that's usually like right after we've turned our sprinklers off in October, November. We get these crazy nice weather that we get in Colorado, and that's when our grass dries. And then on the other side of it, right now, everything's trying to get going. You've seen it. There's weeds all over the place already.
Right.
And it is asking for water, so we need to give it water. Good time to get some fertilizer down as well, but just make sure you're And if you need help with any of that, feel free to give us a call. We do activations, but we can also come out in the middle of the season and do kind of a tune-up or a checkup on your system.
Okay.
We're only allowed to water 3 days a week right here in Colorado Springs right now. We're
Okay.
still on the same restrictions we had last year. I kind of expect that to possibly change, but as of right now, that's where we're at. And 3 days a week is good if your system is dialed in and adjusted correctly. It's probably not enough if you have a bad system or you've got leaks or wasting water here and there. You want to put every drop of water down onto your yard that you can.
So we're looking at your website right now, and you talked about managing and coming out and tweaking the systems and making sure it's dialed in. I wanted to ask off of what you just said, is it if you're down to 3 days a week, like it sounds like you've got to get a certain amount of water on the lawn.
Yeah, we try to get roughly an inch of water a week, and
Okay.
that's changes for everybody's house and everybody's location in town, soil types. I mean, there's a lot of variables there, but that's a good rule of thumb. And you think about how hard that is sometimes to do
Oh,
when you only have 3 days a week.
right.
If you don't have a big yard, it's not that hard. But you can do a lot of things to help manage your water. I always recommend never water in the middle of the daytime. I mean, that's basic.
Right.
You just don't want to do that. And then if you can water in the morning. A lot of times when it gets really, really hot, June and July, you can split your watering up, maybe do a little bit in the morning and a little bit in the evening. The key is you don't want to overwater an area in one round. So you don't want to run your sprinklers for, an hour and a half in one area. You're just wasting the ground can't absorb the water.
Okay.
And then, it can't be used. So you want to spread it around. That's really the importance of having a good sprinkler system is you can manage that. And I also get a lot of people with drip too. They say, well, I don't need drip. I water my yard or I water my plants and whatnot. But Matt, as I do, that when we get a crazy weekend hot, they come up on you, they sneak up on you. And if you're
Right.
watering your flowers and your vegetables and stuff, and then you decide to go to, Breckenridge for the weekend or whatever, and you don't have anybody covering that, 2 days, you can lose your
Oh,
entire, everything.
yeah,
So
for sure.
allow you to really manage that and set timers on your clock. And we do rain sensors. So if you have it set to run and then it pours rain on us, the sensor is going to automatically shut your sprinklers off. So you're not going to be wasting water. A good sprinkler system is really an efficient sprinkler system. So that's what we're looking for here in Colorado Springs right now, especially is to have everybody have an efficient sprinkler system. So we're using the little bit of water that we do have to the most of our capacity.
Right. And I think tech helps with that, right? Like you can
Oh,
run your sprinkler systems from phones and stuff nowadays. I assume you guys
yep.
can assist people with like upgrading. Like I'm in a neighborhood that was built in the 70s. So, my system has needed upgraded over the years, but I assume that you guys can help with that part of the process as well.
Absolutely, yeah. We put smart clocks in all the time. They're getting better and better every year. You can control them from your phone. They give your phone alerts. They remind you of things. You can set different. It's very flexible. But one of the things that we like to offer too is we also monitor sprinkler systems for people. So we come in and we install some devices on your sprinklers, and then we actually are the ones who are getting those notifications. So if like you have right now there's lots of underground utilities going on all over
Yeah.
town. They're poking holes in everybody's yards.
Right.
If they hit something, you may not know it, but when you're
Mm,
running your sprinklers, you could have water running, out into the street. We're going to know that and be able
okay.
to, get out there ahead of time and fix that for you. So that's kind of, those are neat advances that we've seen in the last few years.
Okay. If someone wants to learn more about getting some help from you guys, about the services that you offer from both residential and commercial, how can they learn about F&B Landscaping?
Yeah, they can go to our website for sure. They can look us up on Google or any of those things. The best thing for sprinklers, honestly, is give us a call at 719-494-2102. Then we can talk to you and ask some questions and get some more information about what you really got going on with your sprinklers and your yard. And we do full service design build too. So if you got questions about something going on in your yard, if those underground utility guys destroyed your yard like they did my yard, and you need some help putting it back together again, just, give us a call and we can take care of that for you.
Well, since you've seen, I mean, not that you're angry or anything about that, right? But so if they do that, what is, like, being a landscape guy, you've dealt with this enough over the years, like, what's their responsibility to put it back?
Yeah, that's a good question. They are supposed to put it back, but like for instance, with my yard, they installed like 3 new of those big vaults in the ground, and
Okay.
so I've lost, landscape space in my yard. Now I have these big, ugly boxes in the way, and so when they come back in to put grass around it, it's not going to take. It's brand new seed. You're going to have to do something. They just do the bare minimum and move on. And they have really done, I know in my neighborhood especially, a lot of my neighbors have had massive changes to their yards, that, you can't do anything about it. It's in an
Right.
easement, so it has to be there. But you can come in and at least make it look a little nicer, and make it look less industrial. So
Right. I know nobody
my
loves
yard
that,
looks
but
very much industrial right now.
right.
It's
But
great.
with fiber and, electric needs changing and everything as we do more in our homes, they do have the right of way for those things. So, Tim Stevens from F&B Landscaping, thanks for joining me this morning. I appreciate the insight. And if you haven't yet, you need to get some water on your lawn, whether you're doing it with your hand or you're going to fire the sprinkler system up. F&B Landscaping can help with that. Tim, I appreciate the time this morning.
You're welcome.